Moving forward with our discussions now, I realize that there are minds that are asking questions around the theme that is being discussed. So the one question that is coming through very emphatically is, well, who is a mushrik? I just want to take a moment to explain this. Now, is a mushrik the one we judge to be a mushrik? Or is the judgment of a mushrik coming from the way the person is inside themselves with their God? So I can say to Zayd is just that name that we use, right, all the time in Arabic. I can say to Zayd, you are a mushrik because you are associating with God. You are saying God is one of three, or God is Messiah. Now, does that make Zayd a mushrik in his relationship with his God? Or is Zayd's inner understanding of what he is and his relationship to God the point of judgment? So Zayd says, but in my own soul, I only see one being, one God, and I'm devoted to God wholly and fully. You see, this is the distinction we need to make, that we can judge a person. That does not make them mushrik in the sight of God. What makes them mushrik in the sight of God is what they feel about themselves and their relationship with God. And that is why the Quran is very cautious. It does not call the people of the book, or the Christians in particular, mushrik. It says they have performed kufr. Kufr means an act of denial of the obvious truth, but they don't understand that. They feel that when I say God is one of three, well, you guys don't understand it the way we understand. It's one divine holy being representing himself in variety of ways. That's the way we understand. So in their souls, they are perfectly fine. Now, the testament for that is that you see Christians as holy, godly people. A mushrik is not somebody who is flowing towards godliness. It is only a monotheist that flows towards the unlimited, untarnished beauty of God by relieving itself of insecurity by its motion through surrender to God. Mother Teresa, can I ever be as godly as that blessed woman was? There are Christians, there are Hindus, there are Buddhists, there are Jewish people who are so godly, so profound. And when you meet with them, you know that feeling that you find of godliness through them. It is not how I judge somebody, it is how they are within themselves with their God. A mushrik is somebody who says, I'm opposed to the value system of God, and I'm opposed to the spiritual leaning towards God. So we should suspend judgment. At the most, what we can say is, this is not best practice. So if somebody says, Ya Ali Madad, and reads Dua Tawassul, it is not good practice, I know. But can you say they're committing shirk? That is an audacious statement to make. That person in himself says, well, no, if I ask Ya Ali Madad, it's doing it through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Well, you can maybe talk with them. You can say, well, does that make sense? And where do you get this from? And whatever. But you can't call them mushrik. You can't say they're committing shirk. Now, there is another discussion. And the thing is, the Prophet was tolerant. The blessed Prophet was tolerant. He knew the human condition. He knew human beings are frail. So he set them off on the trajectory of collective refinement of their inner beings and of their minds. That was the best he could do. Today, finally, we are at this position where we are now questioning our practices and trying to get to the essence of things. So the Blessed Prophet was very refined soul. He had penetrative insight. Now, the question is that there is a big distinction, and we need to have this in our minds all the time, that there is an act of shirk and a qualification of mushrik. We can be conducting acts that are acts of shirk, but we are not qualified as mushrik. Yes? I lose my confidence when I lose this ring. That is an act of shirk in the rightest sense, in most accurate analysis. Do I become a mushrik by wearing it? No, of course not. That weakness can be withstood and tolerated, and I'm expected to evolve beyond it. And on that note, a story comes to mind. I was at Hajj, put on my ihram, and I had a ring, and the stone was glowing, and of course on my finger things glow. And there was a Turkish driver. He looked at the ring, and I knew this is going to be a difficult one. I'm in ihram. You ask me something in ihram, obviously it's going to be difficult to say no. He said, I want that ring. It was glowing. It was telling him, take me. With a very heavy heart, because I knew that that man doesn't know the value and the worth of this ring. I had worn it and it was given to me by a very leading spiritual person. Although I make things up and I add things to spice it up. With a very heavy heart, I took it out and I said, it's meant for you, it's come to you. Yeah, by the way, the one who gave me this has made me promise that it'll go back to him, yeah? So I can't give this one. Just in case anybody has any ideas. That love for that ring is shirk. But am I committing shirk in myself? I know I'm not. But I am still wrapped in layers of shirk, trying to emerge from shirk. But then tell me, my insecurity, despite saying God is my author, isn't that a level of shirk? My sleepless nights about what will happen to me in the morning when I say God governs all, isn't that a form of shirk? My displeasure at the decree of God, isn't that a form of shirk? Look at how shirk has enwrapped us. Doesn't God forgive all? The Prophet said, shirk will crawl like an ant upon a rock in the darkness of the night and will go unnoticed. This is how shirk will be prevalent, but God will forgive. He doesn't expect you to be born like the great Muwahhid Ali ibn Abi Talib salamullah alayh. He wants us to work towards that. So now, we need to be broad-minded creatures, and before we judge others, I think we need to look inside there first. Yes? Rumi said, "O you who weeps for Hussain and who curses shimmer, look well within yourself. Look at how your own shimmer is butchering your own Hussain. What you are cursing outside there is in there. Look at yourself first. And honestly, if you're endowed with godliness, you will remain without judgment of others." Did the Prophet not say, I don't want to get carried away with this because I have a talk to finish. Did the Prophet, blessed Prophet, not say that if you see something wrong from another, belie your eyes. Say to your eyes, you're not seeing what you're seeing. Make 70 excuses for that. And when it is confirmed, and they come and tell you, no, I'm not guilty and responsible, then say to yourself, I'm wrong. He can never be wrong. That is the level of innocence of a pure soul. That is where we need to get to. The same Allah who tolerates the like of me, tolerates others. If He can tolerate me, this monstrosity, don't laugh, then He can tolerate anybody else. Yeah? So now, there are two levels. Always there are two levels in this world, the body and the spirit. There is an outer shirk, there is an inner shirk. There is an outer meeting with God, there's an inner meeting with God, and we want to discuss this. We will die, make no mistake. We will be raised, make no mistake of it. But there are two types of deaths, and there are two types of resurrections, and there are two types of accountability. So always, at every level, there are two levels. Now, we need to understand this carefully, because if tonight is the last night, yes, we want to go at the level of the soul, not at the level of the body. If God takes us tonight, we really do want to go. And if He takes me tonight, you'll be in a lurch, by the way, for the next 2 nights. So just pray that He keeps me for the next 2 days at least. You see, our children, I know, and I've seen this. When they are little, they want presents. They do things for us because they want things from us. And I saw this in my little girls. When they grew up, they said, Papa, don't get us these things. And I said, why are they saying that? And then later on I heard one saying to the other, but he has to work hard to get us all these things. That is the birth of the inner being and love of the inner being. You know, sometimes you say to Allah, don't forgive me because I'm not worthy, you know. Sometimes you say to Allah, I don't want anything in return. I don't want anything in return. I'm going to do this, but please, I don't want anything in return. Allow me this instance to just demonstrate something for you, because I've never done anything for you. It is like Qais, the blind lover of Layla, going to Layla, and Layla ascends upon a throne. And Layla says, Qais, what do you want from me? And Qais says, give me a river and a plot of land. I will say, Qais, have you lost your mind? This is what you're asking from Layla? If you were to ask her to vacate her throne, she would do it for you. She will place the crown upon your head. But why should you even do that? Qais responds, you are blind. Oh Layla, I have sought nothing but you from you. What difference does your kingdom make to me if I cannot have you? And this was the soul of Hussain. He was beyond paradise. He said, oh Allah, what has he lost? The one who has found you. And what has he found? The one who has lost you. So there is a bodily world. There is the world of the spirit. There is the death of the body. And there is the onward journey of the spirit. There is the resurrection of the body. And there is the awakening of the spirit. Now we need to get a fix on that. So the Quran says about the death of the non-spirited people. When death comes upon them, it says, Rabbi irji'un la'alli a'mal salihah fima tarakt. Oh Lord, send me back. Let me do some right in what I have left. The Quran says, Kalla innaha kalimatun huwa qailuha. It is just a word he is saying. These are just words he is saying. He doesn't mean it. وَمِنْ وَرَائِهِ بَرْزَخٌ إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. And after the death is an interim phase until he will be raised. Why is the Quran responding in this way? Because he has known his Lord through the body. Imagine if you loved somebody so much that you can't live without them. If suddenly you meet them, what would you tell them? Send me back? You would run in their embrace, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? I have seen mothers about to die, and on their last breath, they have seen their children and they have broken into a smile, and they leave this world in a pleasurable state. Yeah? Then, resurrection of the body. Do not consider Allah to be heedless of what the oppressive people do. They are being delayed to a day in which their glances shall be fixed. مهطعين مقنعي رؤوسهم لا يرتد إليهم طرفهم وأفئدتهم هواء. They will be racing. It's like bodies will become robotic. They will be flung out of the graves, and they will just carry the souls. Their heads will be transfixed in a raised position. There will be a call. Obviously, I'm just giving you a few verses. There are plenty of verses like this, and you've got to put them together. Their heads will be raised high, and their glances will not change. They will be transfixed, and their souls will be in a state of terror. This is the bodily meeting with God. The bodies will be raised out of the grave, and they will just carry the souls. And they will say, what an awful day this is. وَنُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ فَإِذَا هُمْ مِنَ الْأَجْدَاثِ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ يَنْسِلُونَ. The trumpet will be blown, and they will be thrown out of their graves, racing towards their Lord. قَالُوا, they will say, يَا وَيْلَنَا, sorrow be our lot. مَنْ بَعَثَنَا مِنْ مَرْقَدِنَا, who has abruptly raised us from our resting place. هَذَا وَعَدَ الرَّحْمَنِ وَصَدَقَ الْمُرْسَلُونَ. This is what the Rahman promised, and the messengers were right. Then on that day, this is all for the bodily resurrection, for people who are not spirited and spiritually connected to God through the soul. يَوْمَ نَدْعُ كُلُّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ. The day we will call all people with their imam. Imam here means a book. Yeah? وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ فِي إِمَامٍ مُبِينٍ means a book. Do a careful study of the Quran. Inshallah, in the years to come, I will, if Allah gives life and if He consents, will conduct these lectures on resurrection. That Imam means a book. Imam is a book. Kitabul Mubin is a book. Kitab is a book. Lawhul Mahfud is a book. Kitabul Maknoon is a book. These are different levels of books. Look at the Quran. Another reality. It's presenting another reality. It's not the world we are seeing. It's very different. In any case, every community will be called with their Imam. فَمَنْ أُوتِيَ كِتَابَهُ بِيَمِينِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ يَقْرَؤُونَ كِتَابَهُمْ وَلَا يُظْلَمُونَ فَتِيلًا. And whoever has been given their book in their right hand will read their book, and they will not be cheated even to the weight of a date stone or something to that effect. What you're seeing here is very bodily. It's extremely bodily. And then the record of bodily deeds. وَكُلُّ إِنسَانٍ أَلْزَمْنَاهُ طَائِرُهُ فِي عُنُقِهِ. And every human, we have attached their fate or their scroll to their neck. وَنُخْرِجُهُ لَهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ كِتَابًا يَلْقَاهُ مَنْشُورًا. And we will take out for him on the day of Qiyamah a book that will be laid open. اقرأ كتابك. Read your book. كَفَى بِنَفْسِكَ الْيَوْمَ عَلَيْكَ حَسِيبًا. Today, on this day, you will be a sufficient witness against yourself. These are bodily good deeds. I want to go through it, so bear with me. Detailed account. In the next surah, Surah Kaf, it says, وَوُضِعَ الْكِتَابُ وَتَرَى الْمُجْرِمِينَ مُشْفِقِينَ مِمَّا فِيهِ. The book will be placed, individual books. And the guilty fearfully or frightfully will see what is in their book. وَيَقُولُونَ. And they will cry out, يَا وَيْلَتَنَا. Sorrow be our lot. مَا لِهَذَا الْكِتَابِ. What be with this book? لَا يُغَادِرُ صَغِيرَةٌ وَلَا كَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا أَحْصَاهَا. It does not leave out a small deed or a big deed, but that it details it. وَوَجَدُوا مَا عَمِلُوا حَاضِرًا. And they will find whatever they have committed present. Imagine now, a person like me is in a state where I have not found my God, and on the other hand, I'm wasting my life and not committing physical good deeds either. Can you see this? I'm lazy in praying my salah. I'm lazy in keeping up familial ties. I don't go and ask my neighbors if they want anything. I don't speak up for the oppressed people of this world. I do not reconcile between fighting people. I get angry, I swear, and I curse. I haven't found my God at all. So the heart is not there. And at the physical level, I don't see the urgency of the situation. Can you see this? Look at the state in which we, or people like me, are. After that, this is all bodily. Surah Anbiya, وَنَضَعُ الْمَوَازِينَ الْقِسْطِ لِيَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. And then we will place the scales of justice for the day of Qiyamah. فَلَا تُظْلَمُ نَفْسٌ شَيْئًا. And no soul will be oppressed in the slightest. وَإِنْ كَانَ مِثْقَالَ حَبَّةٍ مِّنْ خَرْدَلٍ أَتَيْنَا بِهَا وَكُنَّا وَكَفَى بِنَا حَاسِبِينَ. And even if it is a seed of mustard, we will bring it out and place it on the scale. And we are sufficient as those who will take account. Another verse. يَوْمَئِذٍ يَصْدُرُ النَّاسُ أَشْتَاتًا لِيُرَوْا أَعْمَالَهُمْ. On that day, man will be brought out in groups to witness their deeds. وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرٍ يَرَى. Whoever does a mustard weight of good deed will see it. وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَى. And who does an atom's weight of evil will see it. These verses are sufficient to bring us to a state of mindfulness. Don't keep on committing these sins. Our hearts are away from God and our deeds have nothing to be proud of. فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. And as for the one whose weight are heavy, فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ. Then he will be in a good place of abode. وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. And as for the one whose scales are light, فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ, then the pit will be his mother, his place of rest. Now, Allah says that the physical deeds will be accepted if there is faith. So if somebody has faith in God, that's the minimum requirement. Keep on doing good deeds. Keep on doing good deeds. Keep on multiplying it. Now, people like me are responsible for sometimes a huge crime, because we tell people, don't pray too many namaz, don't do too much this, don't do too much that. It's not good either for me to say that, because the book of God says, do good deeds. Now, if a person who prays too many namaz sees that as a good deed, then let them continue. Maybe once in a while tell them that instead of 100 rakat, you may want to try praying 10 rakat, but with a lot of presence. That way, so that we can ignite the soul. Now, if you see through Surah Tawbah, verse 120, I'm not going to go through it. It will tell you that when these people go out in the way of God, they do not take a step, they do not incur hunger or thirst, they do not cause the disbelievers any damage, and they do not receive any damage from the disbelievers, but that a good deed is written for them. So in the book of God, even for the physical resurrection, for the people who are not soul united with God, they have salvation through the weight of their good deeds. Is that coming through? Even if my soul refined enough to find my God from within, like John, the lover of Hussain, who says, tear my chest in the love of Hussain, even if I'm not there, I need to perform righteous deeds. I need to uphold the prayer. I need to fast. I need to give charity. I need to speak the truth. I need to start forgiving. I need to start reconciling between people. I need to start establishing familial ties. It's an urgent need. Now, look at this verse. That's so phenomenal. That is giving an equation to how to lead this life, a formula. وَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ طَرَفِي النَّهَارِ وَزُلَفًا مِنَ اللَّيْلِ. Establish prayer at two ends of the day and at night, and when night nears. إِنَّ الْحَسَنَاتِ يُذْهِبْنَ السَّيِّئَاتِ. Good deeds ward off evil deeds. Now on the back of this, you find many ahadith from the Prophet and the Imams, that when you do something wrong, immediately do something right to cancel out the wrong. Can you see that? Now you've done wrong, you have an opportunity to put it right. So, we do ghibat, backbite, waste time. What do? Do something right. Now I know this sounds mundane, but that is what is actually happening at the bodily level. You have gotten angry at somebody, of course, go and apologize, seek forgiveness. And on the name of that person that we have offended, go and give some sadaqah, so that that evil deed may be cancelled from the book. Because these books are recording our physical deeds. The scales will bear our physical deeds. Now I know it sounds mundane, but that is something that God is telling us. It will happen. Wrong, immediately do something right. Give sadaqah. By the way, I wanted to mention, it's shameful that we haven't reached that target. It's shameful. Reach it tonight. Because it's embarrassing for me to ask you. It normally works on other people, so I'm sure it'll work on you. No, seriously, get that target going, yeah? Because people like me have a lot of evil deeds to cancel out. Now look at this particular verse. It really does tell us a lot. The Sahaba of the Prophet used to shout at the Prophet, talk loudly to the Prophet. Now these verses come in several places within the Quran. Cancellation of deeds. In one shot, deeds can be cancelled. All of them. And on the day of Qiyamah, they will say, well, where are all my good deeds gone? But they've been cancelled out. So this is in the time of the Prophet, and you can check out other verses. Hujurat, Surah 2, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tarfa'u aswatakum fawqa sawti an-nabi. O you who believe, do not raise your voices over the voice of the Prophet. وَلَا تَجْهَرُوا لَهُ بِالْقَوْلِ. Do not speak loudly to him, كَجَهْرِ بَعْضِكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ, as you talk to each other. أَن تَحْبَطَ أَعْمَالُكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ, least all your deeds are cancelled and you are unaware. So there are things that the Quran says will cancel out your good deeds, and you will not even know it. Yeah? And then when you wake up on the day of Qiyamah, if you're somebody like me, whose soul is totally veiled, and then you're counting on your good deeds, and you go there and there's no good deed left. So check those verses out. When you talk about the soul's death, it is a different story altogether. When a person has met God at the spirited level, then the whole thing changes. It's no longer about the body. When they are dying, the angels descend to them. In the verses of the Quran, we have come to take you. There is no fear upon them. There is no perplexity. There is no confusion. They are not begging for life. There is no regret. It is as if they are being invited by their beloved, and they are feeling the fullness of the presence of the beloved. And then on the day of Qiyamah, when they are awoken, the Quran is saying, لا يحزنهم الفزع الأكبر, that day when women will miscarry children and little children will turn old due to the severity of that day. On that day are a group of people, لا يحزنهم الفزع الأكبر, they will not be grieved by the great calamity and the great terror. وَتَتَلَقَّاهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةِ, the angels will come to them. هَذَا يَوْمُكُمُ الَّذِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ, this is the day that you are promised. Another verse, أَلَا إِنَّ أَوْلِيَاءَ اللَّهِ لَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ, indeed the friends of God, there will be no fear upon them and they will not be grieving. الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ, the people who brought faith and used to be God mindful, reach out to God from within. لَهُمُ الْبُشْرَى فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا, for them are good tidings in the life of this world as they are leaving this life. وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ, and in the hereafter. Now look at the state, the comparison between the two. There is no question about deeds being weighed and people being in a state of terror and bringing every little thing to account. These are noble souls who have never yearned God through a transactional relationship, who have always wanted to meet with God. The likes of Hussain, the likes of the people who are with Hussain in the love of Hussain. Their death, their raising, their day on the day of Qiyamah will be very different. So somebody told me, he said, what a pitiful state that we will say to Allah, throw our mother in hell. I said, do you think Imam Hussain will say that? He said, no. So I said, it's not for everyone. Arrive at that state of nobility where you don't have to face that fate, that you are so preoccupied with your body that you want your mother to burn, so for Allah to save your body. Come at that state of nobility where you say, Allah, burn my body and spare hers. Come at that level of nobility, and your Lord will say, I spare you both. There's a beautiful hadith within the Sunni literature in which it says that as for the souls who are raised on the day of Qiyamah, God will summon them and say to them, do you remember all the things you did in your worldly life? They'll say, yes. Do you remember how I covered them all up for you? He will say, yes. He will say, today I will do the same. Today I will do the same. I will not expose you. That requires a level of recognition. In Kitabul Mu'min, a hadith from Imam Ali, the faithful will awaken and they will look at their books of deeds and they will find no trace of evil. With embarrassment, their hearts will turn to God. Why have you effaced them? And God will reply to them that my love for you and my sense of pride that I take from you does not allow me to expose you to anyone else. And as Imam Ali says, oh Allah, forgive me those sins that you have hidden from your angels, because the love of Allah when we start loving Him, is so overpowering that He does not want the angels to turn to Him and say to Him that you've forgiven him, and he's doing the same thing again. But that comes through that beautiful, yearning connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, look at how Allah is. Look at how Allah is. In your own time, read verses from Surah Nur 36 to 38. He's talking about those beautiful souls. In there are people whose hearts are not deviated from the remembrance of Allah, from the establishment of prayers and from the giving of zakat, who are fearful of a day in which they will meet God, in which the hearts and glances will turn. Now look at what the verse is saying. لَيَجْزِيَهُمُ اللَّهُ أَحْسَنِ مَا عَمِلُوا, so that God may reward them of the best that they used to do. God will overlook all the evils. He will reward them in terms of the best things that they used to do. وَيَزِيدُهُم مِّن فَضْلِهِ, and God will increase them through His grace. And in another verse, look at what God says about these beautiful souls. لَيُكَفِّرَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ أَسْوَأَ الَّذِي عَمِلُوا, so that God may wipe out the worst evils that they used to do. وَيَجْزِيَهُمْ أَجْرَهُمْ بِأَحْسَنِ الَّذِي كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ, and give them reward in terms of not the small good deeds, but the best good deeds that they used to do. Can you see that? But that requires a level of recognition of the beloved, so that we don't fall within that transactional space on the day of Qiyamah. We love our Allah, we are faulty, but when we love our God, God will look at us mercifully. For how is it possible for Him to instill that love within a mother and not possess the same love for His creatures within Himself? In any case, those beloved souls, God says to them, return to your Lord in a way that you are pleased with your God and your God is pleased with you. Can you imagine this statement? You are pleased with your God and your God is pleased with you. Now enter within my gardens and enter within my creatures. He does not say enter within the garden. Otherwise the Quran says they will enter into the garden. Here the Lord Himself is addressing that soul. O contented soul, return to your Lord, being pleased with Him and Him being pleased with you. Now enter into my garden, enter within my creatures. That is the motion of the soul towards God, not the motion of the body. Otherwise the body will give reward to the soul if it passes the scales. But even within paradise, the souls will be alienated from their Lord. Unless the soul moves to God, it will not find God. And the only thing these souls will say on the day of Qiyamah is, O Lord, complete our light for us so that we can be in full reunion with you. They are beyond this paradise greed and yearning. Right now, our motion is a bodily motion to God. We want paradise. We want to flee from hell. We are afraid of that. We are afraid of grave. We are afraid of all these things, and we need to be honest about it. When the soul begins to move, it says to Allah, but oh Allah, today you look after me. At my death, I need you more with me than I need you today. In the emptiness of the grave, I need a companion more than I need on this day. In the darkness of the grave, I need your light more than I need light right now. In the constrictions of the grave, I need your expanse far more than I need an expanse right now. On the day when you raise me, O Lord, I need you far more then than I need you today. When the scales are placed, I need you there. When the path is laid, I need you there to hold my hand, oh my God. I need you more there than I need you today. Oh, the one who takes care of me on this day, abandon me not when I'm breathing my last. Leave me not when I enter within my grave. Be with me when I'm resurrected. Let me not be separated from you even for a moment. That is the sort of prayer we need to make. Now, I want to finish with this verse. And Allah is Allah, and we need to recognize that about Allah. Even if we don't have confidence in our own selves, we need to have confidence in our God. The greatest crime is when we lose confidence in God. That's the greatest crime. We make Him like us. I want to read this verse, and I want you to read it with me. Furqan 68 to 70. وَالَّذِينَ He's talking about the faithful. وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَدْعُونَ مَعَ اللَّهِ إِلَهًا آخَرَ. And the people who do not call alongside Allah another God. وَلَا يَقْتَلُونَ النَّفْسَ الَّتِي حَرَّمَ اللَّهِ. And they do not put to death a soul that God prohibits from killing. إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ, save by truth, i.e. in warfare or somebody who is a criminal. وَلَا يَزْنُونَ. And these people do not fornicate. Now look at what the verse is saying. وَمَنْ يَفْعَلْ ذَلِكَ يَلْقَى أُثَامًا. And whoever does that will receive mighty sin. يُضَاعَفْ لَهُ الْعَذَابُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. His chastisement will be doubled. وَيَخْلُدُ فِيهَا مُهَانًا. And will live forever within paradise in a humiliating state. Now, you've heard that verse, haven't you? Now let's look at the following verse. إِلَّا مَنْ تَابَ وَآمَنَ. Except for the one who turns to God at any point and gets directed to God. Amana, becomes directed to God. وَعَمِلَ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. And begins to behave righteously, righteous behavior in which we are surrendered to God and we are relieving our souls of its inadequacies. Now look at what God says after that. فَأُولَٰئِكَ. Then these are the people, يُبَدِّلُ اللَّهُ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ حَسَنَاتٍ. These are the people whose evil deeds God will convert to good deeds. Now you can imagine the sins that the verse has spoken about. He says, even if you come with those sins, even if you come with those sins, if you turn to God and perform those righteous deeds from within yourself, all those previous evil deeds that are absolutely abhorrent, God will not only forgive them, He will convert them into good deeds. And that is the opportunity that awaits us for as long as these breaths remain within us. A man died. His estate was being given into charity. Somebody came to the Prophet. He said, look at the amount of wealth is being distributed to charity. What can a person like me do? I'm poor. I have lost out in life and after death. The Prophet was eating a date. He extracted the date stone and he said, had he given this much in his lifetime, it would have been better than all this that is giving right now after his death. Yeah. Think about this. Removing a stone for the sake of Allah from the street is amalun salih. Saying a good word is amalun salih. Entertaining a good thought is amalun salih. Praying for others is amalun salih. It's that easy. Yeah? The Prophet said once, if you smile at another one and you say, I'm in love with you, obviously don't say it, obviously callously, then God will forgive all your misdeeds. Yeah? And God will give you good deeds. I know nowadays it's not right to say these things to anyone, man or woman. So just say, I'm pleased to see you, maybe, say it in softer terms. But God will forgive everything. Imagine. We are going to our beloved Imam Hussain, the one whose heart has been torn to pieces. He has been torn to a level that you can't imagine. Every ounce of other than God has been taken out of him. As his body oozed out blood, his soul oozed out everything other than God. There is a son that he has, and he loves no less than Abraham loved his Ismail. He is moving towards Karbala. Sleep overpowers him. He awakens abruptly and says, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Father, indeed we are returning to Allah. But what brings the kalimatul istirja' to your lips at this point? I slept, O child, and I heard a call. O people, advance to your deaths. And I awoke abruptly. O Father, are we not on the truth? Indeed. Then what difference does it make if death comes to us, or we rush in the bosom of death? God bless you, O child, he says. The day of Ashura witnesses the deaths of all his companions. Imam Hussain comes to Akbar when it is time for single combat, according to the Arab traditions, when the numbers dwindle and reduce. O Akbar, I wish you to go to the battlefield on behalf of your father. I wish you to be the first to give your life. Imam Hussain saddled Akbar. Then he pointed his fingers to the sky. I read, then Hamid ibn Muslim narrates, that he cried out aloud as a mother would wail upon the body of her child. As tears flood his eyes, he said, O Allah, bear witness. Now I send to them that child of mine who most resembles your messenger in speech, in mannerism, and in character. Whenever we wish to look at your messenger, we would look at our Akbar. Akbar, go. Yes, but Akbar, go slowly. As Akbar makes way towards the battlefield, he hears something. And he looks back. He sees his father walking behind him. He says, O father, have you not bid me farewell? Indeed, O child. Then why do you come behind me struggling in the way you do? He said, Akbar, had you a child like Akbar, you would not have asked me this question. Akbar goes, I am Akbar, the son of Hussain, the son of Ali. How dare you bring us to this wilderness and put us to death? We will not pledge to the son of a fornicator. We have more right to this than you. I will unleash the blows of a Hashemi upon you and show you the ferocity of my sword. He fights with them. I hear from the Dhakirin that Hussain summons the mother of Akbar. And he says, I will make a prayer. You say Ameen. He says, Oh Allah, the one who has returned Yusuf to Yaqub, return Akbar to his Hussain. As he says that, Akbar comes. He says, Oh Father, the weight of the coat of mail has weighed me down and thirst kills me. Do you have a drop of water? Hussain places his ring within Akbar's mouth and says to him, discard your coat of mail and re-enter into the battlefield. Your grandfather will come and quench your thirst. Akbar re-enters. Murrah bin Munqidh waits for an opportune time. As Akbar is surrounded, he strikes Akbar on his blessed head. Akbar falls to the ground and says, Oh Father, I bid you peace. Hussain runs to the body of Akbar. Abbas Ummi says, there was a woman at the body of Akbar. Hussain sees it is his Zainab and leads her back. He looks at Akbar. He says, Oh child, do you know the wound your father has incurred at your death? He says, Oh child, the world has become darkened after you for your father. Oh child, you have left this world, or you are leaving this world at such a tender age, but you have left your father without his son. Akbar rubs his heels and breaks into a smile. He says, "Oh father, I see my grandfather. He is quenching my thirst with the goblets of Kauthar. And oh father," he says, "oh Hussain, hurry to me, await not." Rahmallah man qara al-Fatiha.